Well, it is not even 7 in the morning yet, and the temperature has reached 1 million. The humidity has reached 1 billion. So we're here at High Falls. It's a really big waterfall in the middle of Rochester. Weaknesses as a runner has been the long run. I have not done enough of them throughout my training, and I have not done them at consistent paces, and they're often awful. That's why over the course of the last few months, it's been really refreshing to build some consistency around the long run. And today, that journey continued with the Metaspeed Edge Paris. I've talked about this shoe a few times on this channel. This is currently my all-time favorite running shoe, period. Obviously, it's a racing shoe, so it's performance-oriented, and it's easier to fall in love with a shoe of this sort than a daily trainer. Or for me, it is. Maybe some people really cherish their more high-mileage daily shoes. And I do as well, but this is a league above and beyond all of the other shoes that I have run in personally. So I would love to give you a little bit of an overview of my run. I'll talk about the shoe, and yeah, you'll see sort of what it's like to, if you're new to the journey of going on consistent long runs every Sunday or Monday or Saturday or whenever you do it. Talking about the run today, started out earlier than I typically do, before 7 o'clock in the morning. I was out probably around 6:40, maybe even 6:30, and it was already 80 degrees and full humidity. I mean, I don't know what the humidity was, but it was also pretty sunny early in the morning. And it actually, over the ensuing next 7+ miles, the temperature, it felt like dropped a little bit. Maybe I started to sweat and it started to evaporate, but one thing is for sure, the sun went away behind the clouds. So even if it got warmer, it felt less warm. And I really needed that this morning, because the first mile, my legs were just, beaten and bruised. This is the highest mileage week that I've ever run. I believe I'm at 86 miles. I mean, it's the highest mileage week that I've run by a buffer of at least a couple miles. So I think I hit 86. It might be like 85 and a half. It could even be 87. I didn't look. So I'm going to do an analysis on my stats later on in the evening. But going into this run, I was in rough condition. So the first decision that I made that was a risky one today was, I've talked about this before, that there's this underlay on the edge that is sort of right here. You could sort of see the structure where it changes from the mesh changes there to roughly there. And it's just a little plasticky, and it could have some irritation on my pinky toes. The solution to this that I found is using a sock that, just like a specific brand of sock. And typically I run in Injinjis, and those are the toe socks that creates toe separation, which widens out my foot, which puts the pinky toe closer to that plastic component, which I don't typically run in Injinjis specifically with these shoes. Why did I today? Well, the other pair of socks that works really well with the Edge Paris for me, that is too thick for the temperature out here right now. It's so hot that any socks that I wear that are really thick are causing hot spots for me in basically all of my shoes right now, even if I know for certain that those shoes don't cause hot spots with those socks at other times of the year. And so I wanted to wear a thinner pair of socks. The only thinner pair of socks that I have are Injinji. So I risked it. At first, I was going to just like, if I had to, come back to the house and change socks and reset if it became an issue immediately. And it was a little irritating at first, and then it just stopped being irritating. So I think I unlocked another range of socks that I could wear with this shoe, which is great. And that was the first success of the run. The second success of the run was getting to the High Falls area of Rochester, which is just like a giant waterfall right in the middle of the city. It's pretty insane that we even have something like that here, and it's not the only waterfall that we have in our city. It's I don't love every component of the city that I live in, but the natural beauty of this place, especially for a runner, is pretty astounding. And the ability also for you to escape direct sunlight. There's a lot of tree cover throughout the city, so if I need to find shade at any point throughout my run, it's relatively easy to do so. Some of the challenges of running in Rochester is that I only know of 2 water fountains, and one of them is at the top of a giant hill. And so that's where I went today. I mean, it's also sort of ritualistic part of my long run where I go a relatively similar long run route. Of course, I'm going on different streets. I can't personally, I have a resistance towards doing the same exact route every day. Even the ones that I do all the time, I make edits and I like go a different direction or make sure it's novel. And I mean, it's not often exciting when you're doing 80 plus miles a week along respectively like pretty much the same area of the city. And when the city is also relatively small, you have to be inventive and creative for the routes that you're doing, even drawing pictures on your map so you could look at Garmin later on. I digress, but the long run Sunday is reserved for some downtown running and some of the nicer areas of town that are a little bit further away from my house that I don't often get to throughout the week. And I'll showcase some of them in the shots that I got on the run. My camera is really not very good, the action cam. And so I'm looking into what I could do to try to solve that for everybody here and for my own creative integrity. But I got a couple of good shots of the city that either will be in a clip at the beginning of this or interspliced throughout. Still haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, I wanted to give you an overview of how the run started. So that's how the run started. It progressed into this like really rhythmic, I don't really remember the middle parts of the run. So from like mile 3 up until I got up to the top of the big hill at Cobb's Hill, I sort of blacked out throughout that in a good way. It was sort of like a time warp. I just arrived at the top of the hill in a heap of death because it is a truly steep hill. I don't know how many feet of elevation it actually is, but it's somewhere in the 300 to 400, maybe even more than that over the course of a mile. So pretty intense one. And coming up and down it is a bit of a chore, but that's where one of the water fountains is. Also, it's a crazy view, and it's a reservoir, so you get the breeze hitting the water, which the water is perpetually cooler than the air. So pretty much no matter what, even if you're roasting in the direct sun up there, it's probably a little bit cooler than the rest of the city. Unless it's high noon, then you're cooked, and you shouldn't run in that type of environment. But that's the reason I went there, was because it was still morning. I got there at around 8 miles. So it was only about, I don't know what time exactly, but it was only about like 8 or 8:30 maybe. I say exactly, I don't know. Whenever this has happened to me a couple of times where I'm wearing my watch and running and somebody asks me the time and I'm like, I can't tell you that. I just get dirty looks. It's like, it doesn't tell time. It's not a watch. And they're like, what? But so I digress again. A couple observations going up the hill was that this was really working my calves today. And maybe maybe it's just a factor of being beaten up from the week of training. Maybe I was actually running with really good form for myself and landing where I wanted to be. I felt very stable in these. This is something that, talking about the Hoka Rocket X3 being a stable racing shoe, that might be true. But for me, the Edge is more stable than that, which is crazy to talk about. But one thing that it is also is even harsher than the Rocket X3, also even faster feeling on foot. Not as harsh by any means as the Takumi Sen or the Streak Fly, but it is like, it can be a slightly more punishing ride than some of the softer foams out there. But this is holding up really well. I don't know if this just crossed 100 miles. I think it might have. I might have just brought this to 100 miles, actually, because I think it was sitting at 85 or something before this run. But if not, it's really close. And yeah, it's not, it's a little dirty, but it's in some of the paint. This is the worst part of it. Some of the paint is starting to chip off. I do notice some denting in the foam. Yeah, like that's a dent. That's not a dent, but if I run my finger over it, I could feel some like divots and dents into it where probably little tiny rocks punctured it, but then fell out of the shoe. The heel rubber is still intact. This looks a little like it's coming off, but it doesn't feel like it, just looking at it there. And even the amount of crinkling going into this midsole for a PIBA-based foam is relatively minimal. And I guess we could also take a look at the other one to see how it's holding up. Yeah, this is taking a little bit more crinklage in the forefoot. It does have a rock embedded into it on this side, so I probably need to get that out. Yeah, that's a big hole that was just created. This is from this run today. That was not there before. So hopefully this doesn't like ruin the performance of the shoe. But it's a risky run when you're running on like looser asphalt. I can't control how the city operates their roads and their footpaths. But overall, I mean, it's really durable. That's what happens when you have exposed foam on the bottom of a shoe. And at 100 miles or roughly around there, this is surprisingly durable. I mean, you really wouldn't think that this being, I mean, it's an older flagship, but it's a flagship racer that a lot of people still consider to be one of the best racing shoes ever made, like full stack marathon shoes ever made, myself included. You would think that it would sacrifice in some durability. The deal with the devil that Asics made to get this Flight Foam Turbo Plus to be so light, especially at a time where other companies were not competitive on weight in the same way. Like this is, I believe, like 190 grams or somewhere in that range. It's soaking wet right now, so I would weigh it, but it wouldn't mean anything. Because I was playing, I'll get to that. Yeah, it is a very light foam and it's pretty durable. I mean, it's the same stuff that's in the Super Blast, so you know it's durable. I mean, it's also very stiff. And yeah, so it's not super surprising that it's held up so well over the course of 100 miles. I mean, I think that this could go to 200, maybe around 150. I would stop considering using it for a race. I do think that there's been a little bit of degradation of performance over time, but nothing crazy substantial. I would probably take it for, if I had a marathon next weekend, that would be brutal on my body, but I would take this over anything else that I have, hands down. I mean, it's not even a question. But if I could get my hands on the Edge Tokyo before next weekend, I would probably take that. So all that being said, yeah, really impressed with this shoe over time. Then I went a couple laps around Cobb's Hill. It was, I was done up there. So could be a bit of foot traffic at the top. And so I was starting to see people arriving, like waking up in the morning and getting out for their morning walk. And so I was like, all right, I'm not going to try to play Frogger on this footpath. There might be water up there, but I filled myself with water and came down. So coming down the hill, this was more, I don't know, not abrasive, but shocking, like impactful on my legs than I've experienced the shoe to be since owning it. It's a steeper hill, so it's not insanely, surprising that there's a lot of impact forces, but I was really feeling them on my legs today specifically. So whatever, I get down the hill, saw some cool dogs. There's always a bunch of dogs. And I'm just, again, sort of time traveling. I ate my first gel right before the climb, and then I ate my second gel at the top and washed it down with some water. So I came back down the hill really hydrated, my legs feeling beat up. So when I got to the bottom of Cobb's Hill, I sort of time warped for the next maybe 3 miles. I think I got down around 11. And then around mile 14, I came across the path that takes me back to my house and noticed across the street there were some sprinklers going, not just some sprinklers, like this whole apartment complex was watering its grass. And it was starting to get sunny again. It was starting to heat up towards the end of the run. And so obviously I go in the sprinklers. And they were warm, but I was trying to cup my hands to catch. I mean, it's a jet sprinkler, so it's spraying really far. I'm just holding my hands up, trying to catch little puddles of water, and like shove it into my face. It was great. I mean, I got a little bit more hydration from that. And if you remember when you're a kid, you could taste hose water. It tastes different. It's a totally different flavor to it. This tasted exactly like hose water. I love that stuff. I'm sure it's terrible for you, but maybe it has like some minerals or iron. So then I started feeling good again. And there's a lot of summer festivals that go on in Rochester. And one of them is a big one. It's an arts festival that's going on right now. They always have a 5K associated with it. And that was happening across the river. So I go sort of the long way home to take a shortcut. If that makes any sense, it definitely doesn't to you, and you don't need to make sense of it. But I wanted to see if they had some legitimate water. So I ran all the way around to their booth, and they didn't have any water, so I went home. A lot of the run was spent in a Zen state, which is always rewarding when you can sort of lock into what your pace is. This wasn't the fastest that I've run a 17-mile day in the last couple of weeks to months. Wasn't the slowest. It was right on like an 8:30 pace. I did stop to film a little bit and give sort of a tour of Rochester. I hope the audio comes out a little better. I tried to hold it closer to my face. But, I mean, I had a lot of fun just looking at Rochester a little bit more than I normally do on my run. When you get in such a rhythm with your pace, you sometimes just, like I was saying earlier, you time warp. I gave you what I remember of the run today. That's all I really remember of the run. Imagine if I didn't stop and take videos of it, I would remember probably even less of the run. I do not know the name of the brand of gel that I took, the first one, but it's like a maple syrup tube. It's like thin, like really thin and slightly taller. And it's a tube and it's made of maple syrup. Looks like it might be a Canadian brand. I liked it. It was delicious. So, and I brought 3 gels with me. I only end up eating 2. I'm really struggling with the whole nutrition aspect. I'm hoping that doesn't play a massive role. Oh, and I did book a race. I will talk to you all about that at some point somewhat soon. I'm going to probably make a video about that. But yeah, that was my 17-mile day and the Metaspeed Edge Paris. I am pretty confident I'm going to pick up the Edge Tokyo in the coming weeks. So let me know what type of content you might want to see in that. Should I break it right out of the box for a long run? That's what I'm hoping to do, but it depends on when I get it. But I'm definitely going to get that shoe, because this has been quite the experience to own. I really love it. What's your favorite shoe? Do you have a favorite shoe that you just love and you've resisted training in it because of how much love you have for it? Let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate your attention. See ya.